There's a reason Hideo Kojima doesn't make video games like anyone else, because to him, video games were never just games. From the moment he stepped into Konami's office in 1986, Kojima wasn't thinking about boss fights or power-ups. He was thinking about cinema, about world building that felt alive, about stories that didn't just entertain you, but really moved you and did something to you inside. And nowhere is that obsession more apparent than in Death Stranding, and now its ambitious follow-up, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach. Games that don't just borrow from Hollywood, they are built on its DNA. From the meticulous, almost obsessive attention to world detail, to the slow cinematic pacing, to the existential science fiction questions at their core, Kojima's work feels less like a product of the gaming industry and more like something born from a film studio backlog. In this video, we're gonna explore how Hollywood didn't just influence Kojima, it defined him. So, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, please. Let's get me to 1,000 subs. We will uncover how his cinematic inspirations shaped Death Stranding into something no one had ever seen before. We'll break down the filmmaking philosophies hiding in its gameplay, the sci-fi ideas borrowed from decades of cinema, and yes, the borderline obsessive way he integrates actors, directors, and cinematic language into his games. We'll reveal the truth about who Hideo Kojima really is. A game designer, but also something else. To understand how Hollywood shaped Death Stranding, we need to go back, way back. In 1986, a young Hideo Kojima joined Konami, a company known for its arcade hits and action games. But Kojima wasn't satisfied with mindless fun. He wanted to tell stories, complex stories, human stories. Just 1 year later, he directed, designed, and wrote Metal Gear for the MSX2, a game that laid the foundation for the stealth genre. It was more than gameplay innovation, it was storytelling evolution. Kojima was already weaving cinematic cutscenes, layered narratives, and philosophical undertones into his work, things unheard of at the time. Over the next 3 decades, he would continue to push the boundaries of what video games could be, from Metal Gear Solid's legendary monologues on war and identity, to the cinematic camera work and layered character studies of Metal Gear Solid 5. Kojima was blurring the line between film and game more and more with each release. By 2005, Konami knew they had something special. Kojima founded Kojima Productions within the company, and in 2011, he was appointed Vice President. Jesus fucking Christ, what the fuck? He was appointed Vice President of Konami Digital Entertainment itself. But even then, something was boiling under the surface. His ambitions were bigger than the company would allow. The eventual cancellation of Silent Hills, a dream collaboration with filmmaker Guillermo del Toro, was the breaking point. Kojima left Konami in 2015 under highly publicized, controversial circumstances. And from those ashes, he re-established Kojima Productions as an independent studio. Now, unshackled from corporate restraints, Kojima had one mission: to make the most cinematic, most ambitious, most Hollywood-inspired game ever made. And in 2019, he did. Death Stranding isn't a video game in the traditional sense. It's a film disguised as one, and Kojima himself described it as a brand new genre, a Strand-type game, something that emphasizes connection over competition. The story is pure sci-fi cinema. After a mysterious apocalyptic event known as the Death Stranding, invisible creatures called BTs now roam a fractured United States. The player, as courier Sam Porter Bridges, portrayed by The Walking Dead's Norman Reedus, must reconnect isolated human colonies by delivering supplies and linking them to a new communication network. On the surface, it's pretty much a delivery game, but underneath, it's a deeply cinematic exploration of loneliness, purpose, and what it means to connect in a broken world. These are themes straight out of the most ambitious science fiction films: Children of Men, Stalker, Interstellar. The presentation is equally cinematic from every moment, from the sweeping landscapes to the framing of a camera shot. It all feels like it was directed for the big screen, and that's no accident at all. Kojima's lifelong obsession with films informs every single decision he makes. Kojima isn't just inspired by cinema, he lives it. Scroll through his Twitter feed and you'll see immediately. almost daily film reveals, glowing praise for directors, reflections on screenwriting. He gushes about actors like Hunter Schafer, gushes about the Mad Max Fury Road movie, called Norman Reedus one of the most magnetic screen presences of his generation, and he always breaks down the cinematic qualities of shows and movies in ways that most game directors couldn't even dream of. With Kojima, it's more than just fanboying, it's studying. Kojima dissects films the way a film director would. He studies pacing, tone, production design, dialogue, and he absorbs the cinematic language of the likes of Ridley Scott, Stanley Kubrick, David Lynch, and Andrei Tarkovsky. And then he reassembles it and puts his own DNA to make it his own. And in Death Stranding, that filmic language is everywhere. It's a deliberate pacing that mirrors art house cinema. And the way mundane tasks are presented with grandeur and reverence, much like Denis Villeneuve's meditative sci-fi epics. Even the game's quote-unquote boring stretches, the long walks across desolate landscapes, are inspired by the kind of slow, existential storytelling cinema has mastered over the past decades. The most obvious sign of Hollywood's influence on Kojima, though? Hollywood itself is in the game. Death Stranding isn't just a game with celebrity cameos, it's a full-blown cinematic production with Hollywood actors. Norman Reedus plays the lead, and the game takes special care to make sure the game models look exactly like the real-life actors. Mads Mikkelsen delivers one of the most nuanced performances of his career. Léa Seydoux, Margaret Qualley, Tom Earl Jenkins, all recognizable faces from film and television. Kojima wasn't just inspired by these creators. He invited them into his world, blurring the line between game and film like never before. The performances from these Hollywood stars, by the way, aren't just video game good, they're Hollywood good. They're just straight up really good performances. Shot with the same care, precision, and cinematic direction you'd find on a film set, a big budget one at that. And that's really intentional. Kojima isn't just making a game you play, he's making one you watch and experience. Kojima's cinematic obsession goes deeper than casting and cutscenes though. It's baked into the design philosophy itself. Every detail in Death Stranding, no matter how small, no matter how unnecessary, is there to build immersion. From the way Sam's breathing changes based on terrain, to the delicate balance of weight on his back, to the sound design of raindrops hitting metal containers, it's world building on a microscopic level. It's the kind of obsessive attention to detail Hollywood directors like Kubrick or Fincher are known for. And just like in film, these details serve a purpose. They pull you in. They make the world feel real, even though you don't notice it on a conscious level. Subconsciously, they make everything in the world more believable. On the flip side, some players found these choices frustrating, slow, sometimes even boring, but Kojima would argue that's the point, because immersion isn't always fun. Sometimes it's about the feeling the weight of isolation, feeling the fragility of connection, feeling in a way what it means to be human. And this is where Kojima's Hollywood influence is most profound. Not in aesthetics, not in casting, but in theme. Death Stranding isn't about monsters or deliveries, it's about humanity, about how we build bridges, literal and metaphorical ones, in a world that seems intent on breaking them. Films like Blade Runner and Her explore identity and connection. 2001: A Space Odyssey and Arrival confront humanity's place in the cosmos. Children of Men grapples with despair and hope. Kojima takes those cinematic questions and reframes them through gameplay. Every bridge you build, every colony you reconnect, every delivery you make, they're metaphors for something much bigger. They're questions about us. And Kojima isn't done yet. With his newly announced game, OD, he stated that he wants to scan a real-life ghost for the game. Now, whether or not he meant that as a joke, or literally, I'll leave that up to you. But it's pretty clear that the lines between film and game will be blurred even further with this new game, and if history is any indication, Kojima will continue to push those boundaries until they disappear entirely, or until he disappears, whichever happens first. Hideo Kojima has always said that he doesn't see a difference between films and games. To him, they're part of the same language, and Hollywood didn't just inspire Kojima, it shaped him. It taught him how to build worlds, how to frame emotion, how to explore the human condition. And in turn, Kojima has shown Hollywood that video games aren't its lesser sibling, they're its evolution in a way. In the end, Death Stranding and Death Stranding 2 aren't just games you play, they're films you experience, philosophies you inhabit, questions you live inside, and maybe, just maybe, that was Kojima's plan all along. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more.